Alright guys, so now we're back for the jerky. So, I got a little prep work. As you can see here, I got all the meat here. I went ahead and cut off the silver skin, the fat, what little fat this cat had, and the membrane layer. Basically all that stuff that can end up a little gooey or sticky when you make it into jerky. So I went ahead and cut all that stuff off in preparation to make the jerky. So first, we're going to take our back straps. This one here. Now, this is a lean meat. Lean meats have a habit of maybe getting a little bit chewy or tough when you make them into jerky. Something you gotta watch is hair. You find little hairs, and Bobcat's a furry, so it's kind of tough to get all that hair off. I rinsed it, but, well, you know, what can you do? Anyway, so, what you want to do is you want to cut against the grain. And another one. You want to cut against the grain. So you look at the meat, see which way the fibers run. And this back strap, they run lengthwise. So you want to cut like that. And of course I'm using my javelin. And I know this is more or less abusing the blade, but man, that scalpel blade, you can't go wrong with that when you're cutting meat. And this meat, when you cut against the fibers and the grain, and this stuff slices so good. Just like that. And you're wanting to cut little small pieces. Remember, these are going to shrink. You want to cut them kind of thin, but not too thin. Just like that. I'm going to stop talking. I'm just going to get this done. I'll probably fast forward this little section right here. This is a part of the shoulder. I went ahead and boned out the right shoulder. Yeah, the right shoulder. And removed as much of the silver skin as possible. And took off as much of the silver skin and the membrane as possible. Still dealing with hairs. I might rinse this meat one more time after it's all cut up. Try to get off all these hairs. Anyway, so the grain runs. Rinse this meat. It runs that way. And you get a section where there was a lot of the silver skin. It does tend to be a little harder to cut. As muscle is also a little tougher than the back strap. I just have the back strap right here. And you look, this cat had some decent sized back straps on it. Now with any kind of wild game recipe, I will always say if you don't know what to make with it, you can't go wrong with jerky. Just depending on the type of game, you got to make sure the meat's well cooked. If you have the type of dehydrator that actually doesn't, like a freeze dryer or something like that, you may not want to do certain types of meat, like a coyote or a raccoon, bear, anything that might have internal parasites or high bacteria levels. You want to make sure it cooks, so you want to use a type of dehydrator that uses an induction coil that runs hot air over it, and it cooks it as it dehydrates it, like mine. Now, they do sell dehydrators like that really cheap. I got mine at Walmart, oh, I don't know, 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago. I got it for maybe $32. You see that membrane? Cut that membrane in that. Okay. Now, just off the back straps and the this one shoulder, I got a good amount of meat off of it. Make sure I'm cutting. So definitely enough for a good little batch of jerky. Now, how long you keep your jerky in is all up to you. Like I said, if this being a wild game, you want to make sure it's fully cooked for sure. Personally, I like a crunchy jerky, a really dry jerky, so I leave it in until it sounds hard and hollow. I'm probably gonna have to replace the blade on my javelin after this. But at this point, the meat really resembles a lot like pork or chicken. The backstrap, the lighter meat looks a little like chicken, but you can see this shoulder looks a lot like pork in the color. Real light, a little bit of pink redness in it. Just throw that in there like that. And raw feels a lot like pork also. The other thing I forgot to mention you need to cut off is you make sure when you debone it, you cut off all the hard part of the tendons. You can see on this piece of meat here, I think this was the forearm, and the tendons came just past here, and I had to cut those off because those become really chewy. You see, sometimes you have to go through the other side, opposite of where the silver skin is, and cut. Now, of course, that's all gonna dry out, and the silver skin won't be that big of an issue once you once it's dehydrated. So, alright. You see, I'm staying mindful of trying to see where the direction of the fibers go. Because I have quite a few people who are interested in trying this, and I don't want something super chewy for them to try. Some of the pieces are easy to tell. Some of the other ones, the smaller muscle groups, are a little harder to tell. This one here in half. Now, chopping it up like this, I think this would probably be good for a stir fry, or perfect for chili. dice it up like this. There's a big chunk right there, which weighs the fibers. That way. Yeah, but you can see that that color looks a lot like raw pork. Except, unlike raw pork, you have none of the fat. Which can be good or bad. If you're trying to make this into something like a grinding it, maybe the sausage or something like that, you're probably definitely going to want to cut this with bacon. Get a little bit of fat in there, hold everything together. Get a little of that off. I tried beforehand to cut off all this stuff because that's all the time-consuming stuff, but it still sneaks its way through. But yeah, I would definitely cut it into bacon if you're thinking of making sausage or any kind of patties with it. Now, if you're doing a recipe that's grinding it that where it doesn't matter sticking together, like say if you're using it for a sauce or something like that, then you're probably fine. Because, I mean, you're not really worried about it sticking together. Okay, so that's all the meat. I'm going to clean up this station, and I'll be right back with you when I get the bowl and everything set up to do the seasonings. Alright guys, we're back. I got everything set up for the seasoning. So first what we're going to do is in our big bowl, or mixing bowl, we're going to dump our meat back in. Like so. Now I figured we're going to do kind of a sweet spicy teriyaki. So first thing I'm going to do, soy sauce. I'm going to do just a little, because I got something else. Next, I got a Hoisin garlic marinade sauce. This is pretty much like a garlic teriyaki. That's why I didn't put that much of the regular soy sauce in it. I'm going to put just a little in that. Okay. Now, I got some raw mesquite honey. Now, if you buy this 100% raw mesquite honey, it's usually really solid and crystallized, and you have to microwave it to get it liquid again, which you see I did here. I'm gonna dump just a bit in there like that. Next, I got some fresh squeezed orange juice. Oh, that's good. And these oranges were mandarin oranges, and they came from Brownsville. I'll dump that in there. Now, I know right now it looks like a lot of liquids, but trust me, the meat's going to absorb it. Next, we have some paprika. As you saw us earlier with this here, it's actually smoked paprika. So we're going to toss that in there. Then we got us some garlic powder. Put that there. And we got us a little bit of onion powder. And now for the spice, we got some chili powder. Now you can also use red pepper flakes, work well. And then we're also going to do some black pepper. Normally with black pepper, I like to use coarse ground, but we're currently out. I normally buy a big tub, and we just haven't done it like that. So, now that we got all of our ingredients, I didn't miss anything, we just go ahead and mix this up. Excuse me, guys. Mix this up just like that. And now, I like to cook with my nose. Sorry. So, that honey, as it cools down, it's gonna thicken back up again. And, cool down, but you just smell it. Give it a good smell. See if it smells like anything that you need to add. See a lot of that moisture, that liquid's getting absorbed in. The acid from the lemons is going to help, from the orange juice is going to help break down the meat a little bit, make it a little bit more tender. Add some sweetness and tang to it. And also, it should remove some of the gaminess. A tip, there's a couple ways you can get rid of gaminess with animals. And shark also. Lemon juice, there's a bunch of different ways, but you can use lemon juice on shark, or orange juice on shark. Citrus is really good for removing the ammonia flavor from shark. You can also use it on gamey meats like raccoon, deer, stuff like that. You can also use vinegar or Italian dressing to marinate it, and that helps remove some of the gaminess as well. And they don't usually leave a lasting flavor with the meat when you cook it. So, I'm going to go through and see, we got this here. I'm going to add a bit more of the teriyaki. And I'm going to go back and add more of the paprika and the chili powder. Not trying to go overboard, but I want a little bit of nip with this. Like I said, you can use red pepper flakes, and I actually like red pepper flakes because sometimes you're sitting there chewing on a piece and you get a little bit of a landmine going there. So once you got this fully mixed up, go ahead and just let it marinate and set for a little while, 10-15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and let it sit, marinate for a little while. I'm going to go ahead and set up the dehydrator, and I'll be right back with y'all for that. Alright guys, so I got the dehydrator set up. Our Bobcat has been marinating in our seasoning mix for a little while. You can see a lot of that moisture has soaked into the meat. So now we're just going to go through and place it on the rack. Now you want to space it. You don't have to space it a whole lot. You just don't want the pieces touching. Obviously, the less pieces you have, or the more they are spaced, the faster they will dry and dehydrate. But it also depends on where you live. Where I am, it's very humid all the time, just starting out, so my dry times are usually a little longer. I'll usually leave my jerky on the dehydrator for about 16 hours. Sometimes less, depending. I normally do a test try after about 12 hours, 10-12 hours. See how dry it is, see what the flavors kind of developed. You can't really do much once you start drying as far as changing the flavor any. But, I mean, it's a good idea to know kind of where you're sitting with it. Dropped a piece there. Yeah, I've had a bunch of people who never even thought of the idea of trying Bobcat. And I'd have to say up until just towards this summer when I started thinking and get into predator hunting myself, I didn't really think I was never thought about it myself either. So yeah, sure, shoot a bobcat, get a pelt, all fun and games, but I never really thought about eating it. So, you know, one day I decided to look it up and, out of curiosity, see if anyone does eat it. And surprisingly, people do. I read a lot of the first experiences that people have had trying some of the stranger meats like bobcat, coyote, mountain lion, wolf, fox, weasel, anything like that. Stuff that people wouldn't normally think about eating as wild game, specifically carnivores. A lot of people tried them the first time at game warden events or hunting events where hunters and game wardens bring family recipes and, you know, kind of like a hunting potluck for hunters. And a lot of people tried it that way beginning, not knowing exactly what it was. And most of the time, from what I've read, people thought the cats tasted like a pork roast, and the dogs taste like lean beef. So I figured, you know, what the heck, I'll give it a try. So, bobcat's down, still got coyote on the list and mountain lion on the list. Now, the ranch I hunt, I've been told there are mountain lions there. I've yet to see any actual proof of them, but I am going to be setting up some game cameras the next time I go out there. I'm going to start doing I guess it would be called scouting videos, in which I go through and I'll just make a video of just clips that the game cameras catch, because I'm going to be doing video game cameras. You know, live action is always a little better. So that's going to be something coming up, hopefully here soon. All the other seasons are winding down, so I'll be out there on that ranch more often after hog, coyote, and bobcat, seeing how I can hunt those year round. You know, something I always thought that was strange is people seem to be more inclined to eat bear than bobcat and coyote. And man, bear, and raccoon also. Bear and raccoon, if you make one slip up cooking it, man, they carry some nasty parasites. I know bear can give you trichinosis if you eat it too raw, and that's nasty. It pretty much puts worms everywhere in you. And raccoons, oh god, you can't even take some book to list all the stuff that you can get from a raccoon. It almost seems like every part of the raccoon can give you a different parasite or disease. Personally, that's probably the only thing that I would shy away from trying is raccoon. I don't know. I've seen a lot of episodes of Eaten Alive. Enough to make me not want to mess with it. But, yeah, you know, I'm fine eating a cat and a dog. I'm just trying to give him a little bit of space. I think I got 2 racks. This is probably, I don't know, probably at least a good pound, 2 pounds of meat. You get a meat scale, food scale. I'm kind of curious, because I've been making my own jerky for years. I'm kind of curious of if there is anywhere that sells commercial bobcat jerky and what its prices is. Because I know I acquire venison quite often from places, and I make jerky out of that. And man, venison jerky can be expensive. Even regular beef jerky is just ridiculously priced. Any little jerky stand will sell you, you know, a quarter-pound bag of jerky for like 20 bucks. But man, you can go and for 20 bucks buy like a 6-pound chunk of beef and make your own jerky at home. And then end up you know, you'd have like $150 worth of jerky by weight compared to that jerky standard if you're going by the same pricing standards. That's why I've always liked making my own jerky. It's just way cheaper. And on top of that, you know exactly what's in it. You know, you can make it low sodium, you can make it no sodium. You use fresh herbs, vegetables, you know. Do it however you want, whatever seasonings you want. Get creative. Something I usually like adding is liquid smoke, which I am currently out of, unfortunately. That normally makes it into every single jerky recipe that I do. Simply because, you know, smoking jerky, especially a small chunk jerky like this, isn't all that easy. I am eventually going to figure out a way to do it. Thinking maybe a piece of aluminum window screening might do the trick. And then run that in my barbecue pit, but alright, that's all the meat. So alright, and you see my dehydrator is made by Nesco. I got this at Walmart for 35 bucks, I think. Anyways, I'm going to let this run probably for 16 hours, maybe longer, maybe less, depends on how it is. These are small cuts, and this type of meat with thin fibers usually dries pretty fast. So I'll be back probably tomorrow afternoon, around lunchtime, maybe a little later. I'll get back with y'all and show you where it's at, pull it out, and go from there. Okay guys, welcome back. I know the audio is a little different in this clip because I'm not using my microphone or my tripod. Packing up a little bit, kind of unexpected. I got invited out to my another buddy's ranch. So I'm packing up for that. So we're revisiting the jerky. Pretty much what I did, I let it dehydrate all the way back up until noon. And then I turned it off, let it cool to room temperature. And then I went ahead and I pulled it out. And I did something I never did before. I checked the temperature on the jerky with a digital thermometer, and it only came up to about 159 degrees. Now, this being wild game, I wanted to make sure it was thoroughly cooked on top of being dehydrated. Make sure I killed any bacteria or parasites the Bobcat might have. I didn't see anything that would give me any signs that it could have it, but I have read that it's extremely rare that Bobcat can have some parasites, and I wanted to make sure that that wasn't gonna be an issue, seeing that I do got people wanting to try this. So I took it out, I popped it, I preheated my oven, and I put it in my oven for like 5 or 6 minutes at 350 degrees. Pulled out, made sure it got up to 200 degrees, good as can be. So I threw it back in because it looked like some of the fat was coming back out. I threw it back on for about another hour on the dehydrator, and it's good to go. So you can see, all perfectly dry. Got nice grill marks on it. Good color. Smells great. When you package this, you can freeze this. You can put it inside of Ziploc bags. If you put it inside of a Ziploc bag, put a little bit of paper towel in it to keep moisture from happening. The paper towel will absorb some of the moisture and any grease and oil fat that runs down the jerky. You can do that, or you can put it inside of a vacuum seal bag, vacuum seal it. You can put it inside a Ziploc bag and freeze it, and it'll be good. I've had jerky made like this that has had no problems keeping for a couple weeks, you know, just inside of a Ziploc bag before it starts looking questionable. What happens, especially here where I am, where it's humid, the humidity gets into the bag and kind of starts rehydrating it, and once it gets a little bit of moisture in it, then bacteria can form again, and by the time you're there, that's about it. But anyways, just as it is now, it would be fine for at least a week as is if it's kept in a Ziploc bag closed with a paper towel. You can also use a paper bag, open air in a paper bag. I've done that before too, and that works really well. The paper bag absorbs the oil and the moisture. Anyways guys, that's how you make Bobcat jerky. Hope y'all enjoyed. And the first half of this video, I think I'm going to end up actually slipping this into 2 separate videos, because total this has become so long with the 2 recipes. So it's probably gonna be 2 recipes, 2 separate videos. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, and you make your own. If you do, or if you have made your own, post down in the comments how you liked it and what seasoning you use. I actually could not find any information online about people making Bobcat Jerky. Some recipes, yes, but not jerky. So let me know if you made it before and how you did it. I'll see y'all guys next time. Be sure to come over here and subscribe. And of course you have to hit the little bell, otherwise we won't show up in your notifications each time we post a new video. And check us out on Facebook and give us a like. We post all of our content there as well, as long as some pictures that we take. Speaking of Instagram, you can check us out on Instagram too. We post all of our pictures, some short clips that don't end up on YouTube, along with a little bit of funny stuff, some game recipes, and we're also on Twitter. You can check us out on there, some of our posts. We keep everyone kind of in the queue along what we're on to and what we're up to and what we're doing, along with some other posts about some other things that we like. So be sure to check us out on Patreon. We could always use the support. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, but that stuff kind of isn't cheap, so every little bit of support helps and will help us get out some good content for everyone to see.